doing the thing on Thursday instead of Wednesday because it was so busy. Why does New York have so much pain? I'll go to Dallas instead if it doesn't clear up soon. Yeah. Yeah, New York's having problems, though. Yeah, let's just use rocks. Because they're a fun boy. Yeah, for no reason. I'll just double the amount of AI. Oh yeah, days. I think I'll probably reinstall Star Conflict today. Have fun with it. Just feel in the mood to play it a little. And lose my mind, but I have a lot of fun with that. So many missiles. Oh my goodness. Where's the thing? There it is. Oh. I didn't have the right mode. Now I got the right mode. I don't know if I was on assist the whole time, because that would interfere with my ability to fly significantly. So I like the drifting. The drifting is really helpful. Missiles do feel more inconsistent. El Rocco's. I don't know why they feel more inconsistent, but they do. I don't think anything's really happened other than yesterday was when I had the air conditioner installed, which is in my room, which is why I didn't want to be on my PC until they were done after about 5 hours. Because that needed to get replaced, so because it was dying horribly, so. Need hammer. Yeah, this thing. Oh, also, I was thinking about LVR because I was spying on Fernando's VR video, as well as someone else's VR video, just to see what the VR looks like, and it looks very fine to me. I think the main thing, it's like, I still find it a little mysterious how it felt like there was a lot of people wanting the VR in the Gamu, but they're taking their time playing the game now that VR's in it. So it's like, it's very mysterious. It's like, how dare they? You can't just ask for stuff and then not pay attention to the Gamu. I don't know if Fernando did anything that's like more aggressive of like pushing that, but it's like, I feel like after putting in VR, you should like mention people to donate to the Kickstarter or Patreon or something. Which is like, hey, if you're happy with this level of VR, I could use the extra support so I can keep doing stuff like this and similar or whatever. Actually, I think after any major update that needs a video, I think you should probably just like mention that you have funding options for the game, just in general. I'm thinking that's what you want in life. To berate people constantly. Already running out of rocket? That's stupid. And didn't kill him. Does the ammo capacity feel very inconsistent? I'm gonna use heavy cannon instead. I don't need to worry about no stupid ammo. I doubt the ammo capacities are even realistic or consistent with volume consumption. I really doubt it. It's just magical numbers that were generated out of thin air. They have nothing to do with anything resembling physics and the laws. And I do want to, at some point, do math on how long you can shoot the guns before you overheat, and then what the total damage output is, because I feel like most of these guns are... You can have, like, 80% inaccuracy with shooting something, and you won't get a penalty until, like, that long. So it's like... If you consider every shot you can shoot before you get penalized, I think you're allowed to be 80% inaccurate when you're only worried about one target. It's like, I think that's like the level of inaccuracy you can have and still like kill somebody. It's like, I think that's too high. I mean, statistically, 75% would be the maximum possible. Like, inaccuracy you should have if you're playing, like, to a decent, like, prediction. I think that might be what I was thinking there. I don't know, I wish I had the old, well, I have old videos to look at, but I wish I had more concrete old weapons being used just to see how much the sustain DPSs have changed sneakily. Which is why I wish there was also numbers for stuff, because then it's like easier to keep frickin' track of when things get balanced. It's based entirely off your impressions, perception, and reality. I don't know if that's a bomber. It also means that plasma used to be, the plasma weapons used to be very good at, like, exhausting energy. But if they use a kinetic gun, that means, well, it doesn't matter if you're good at depleting their energy, because they can still shoot you with impunity. So. Yeah, I miss that. That's like, it's one of, like, the main points of plasma being, like, energy melting. It's like, well, it's not a big deal, because... Unless they also use plasma. Yeah, volt on volt. Don't you love volt on volt? Because the idea is that heavy cannon on heavy cannon duel should feel more involved in a Vulcan on Vulcan duel. That's like the whole idea. Because the mechanics are more integrated with energy on energy versus kinetic on kinetic. I know I did say that. Having a system in place where every weapon on this faction uses energy, and there's also lore for that. And then with the Earth Alliance, every gun they would have, even if it was energy based, would you still use ammo? Just because it's like, oh, they use energy cells that are one-time use for their plasma weapons, versus this faction where if they have an energy weapon, it just pulls from the capacitor that's also used for the shield. And if they have a kinetic weapon, it's like they have ammo generation on the ship instead of having a clip, and it just uses a crap ton of energy to make the bullets. So whenever you need to fire, it will just make more bullets for you. So you can have like a clip system unlike those, but something weird. I think I just prefer to do the simple system where every time you fire a bullet, it just still uses energy anyway. You don't want to make any technology that has dire consequences. You don't want to do one of those. That's pretty bad. I'd also like to find more better made videos about if Arcane's actually really bad. Because the main reason I don't believe that it's bad is people I know that are very harsh critics said the show actually ends up being pretty good. So that makes me think that, like, if someone's trying to convince me that it's like somehow worse than like Marvel and the Winter Soldier, well, yeah, the Winter Soldier movie, it's like, how? It's like, 'cause it's like, well, I guess I just glazed over any of the big flaws in the series, I guess. Because Winter Soldier is a movie people like, but the movie itself is like one of the worst Marvel movies from like the writing and everything. It just has a good feel, you know, has good atmosphere, and it's cool. But the actual qualities of the movie that relate to like the writing and making sense are very bad. It doesn't make much sense, and it's not very consistent either with character depictions. Like the actual Winter Soldier is like very dumb and underpowered, and the movie titled after him, which is just very unfortunate. Poor guy. Poor Bucky. Also, Captain America does a few stupid things that I can remember in that movie, too. But yeah, but I know someone said that, oh, Arcane, it's like as bad as Winter Soldier is in terms of writing. I'm like, is it though? It's like, I don't know how, because Arcane, like, even if you don't think it's well written, it's like very logically consistent. Like the most I could probably say about Arcane is there's a few parts where they definitely maybe jump the gun having something happen where I'm not convinced that that would have happened. But it still makes logical sense, and if they do something, they commit to it and it comes back up. It's like, it's very, like, nothing happens out of nowhere in that show that makes no sense at all. You know, the most is like you could say stuff happens like too suddenly, but it's not out of nowhere. So I don't know how you could somehow equate it to being as bad as Winter Soldier is. I'm not sure how that works. It's a little mysterious, that is. Oh, he has SRS on this AI bomber. And the other point on like that Arcane is like I think it could look a lot nicer than it does, but that's just not something I care about. Because I think the show just looks good. There's no parts in the show that like blow me away with how it looks. It just kind of all looks good. There's no, I feel like it lacks a little bit of spectacle, but I don't care that it would lack that. That's also a similar criticism I have for like both Mando and Boba Fett, where it's like they both just kind of look good all the time, and there's no like doesn't have that cinematic feel. It feels like it's a TV show, and I mean that in a bad way, because to me the best TV shows stop feeling like TV shows and they feel more like a movie. Just in terms of the cinema, you know, it has that more better feel to it. Because in a TV show, you get the TV show feel where you just have a bunch of people out in a setting and all they do is talk at each other about stuff that you're learning about in the moments. And it's very rare, surprisingly, in a lot of bad TV shows to just have like two characters in a room, you know, talking about stuff that like improves their character or whatever. So just them like commenting their opinion on like a recent event, for some reason that's something that's surprisingly rare that happens. But in Arcane, that is something I remember happening a lot, where you'll just see characters interacting with each other in a way that helps you understand their characters more. When in a lot of shows that like rarely ever happens. Like I think Mando's the main example I can remember. It's like it's so rare for Mando to interact with anyone and actually reveal himself in any way, shape, or form. Or for most of the other supporting characters to do something similar where you can just learn about them from a casual conversation. It's like, it's very rare that it happens in Mando. It's like the main issue I have, on top of logical inconsistencies, which are kind of everywhere. Which is the same for Boba Fett as well. It's like, yeah, Boba Fett's basically, it's the exact same as Mando, but with different characters. Because the show even feels like the same type deal. Although, I'd say Boba is either slightly better or slightly worse than Mando, just because Boba might be slightly better in that it doesn't quite feel as... It feels like the bad traits aren't quite as bad as they were in Mando, but at the same time, it has the big issue of they really want to make Boba a good guy character when that's not what he was in like anything he was previously shown in, which kind of includes Mando, funnily enough. Essentially in Mando, any depiction of Boba Fett's like really like OP. But in his own show, he's like been downscaled in his power level to where he needs to train back up to like learn something. It's like really weird. It's like, it only makes sense when you realize that this is like how they want to do all these shows, is they want to have the main character be weaker in terms of like their combat effectiveness, and they want to scale that back up like later when stuff happens, or have other guest characters come in and be a lot more combat proficient. It's really strange. But like in Boba Fett's own show, there's a big lack of Boba Fett just like cleaning the house of everyone, which is the main thing you would want to see. Because it's Boba Fett, and he's like not only one of the most dangerous people in the galaxy, he's one of the most experienced bounty hunters that there is. And he's been doing his thing for like 30 years or whatever. So you'd really want to like, you think that he'd be like one of the best, like most effective people in combat, period, but like that's not what the show depiction's like. Like, he doesn't even use the knee rockets, which are still really silly, but they're also very OP. So you'd think he would use the knee rockets more. Frickin' knee rockets. Because they even make a point to show him putting on the knee rockets in the show, too, but he hasn't used them when he could have used them in a few points. Because the knee rockets are silly, but they're also a surprisingly effective weapon for some reason. Fun with shooting these poor innocent AI, so I'll probably do at least one more round, and then I might switch off to racing if I'm not in a good shoot mood or whatnot. And then apparently Obi-Wan and Ahsoka are both going to get their shows as well from Disney, which is very disturbing. Incredibly disturbing. It's like, oh no, I'm concerned. I think it's very likely that Mando is the peak in quality in Star Wars shows, and that's not good. It's like, I think that's actually the best it's ever going to get. It's just gonna get worse. Because at least of Mando, because he's a new character, there's no possible way he can be out of character from something he was in previously. But the main problem with all these other shows that feel like they're going to be the same type deal, but with different characters, is they are absolutely going to be able to have inconsistencies of old characters. And it kind of proves the only difference between, you know, any of the shows Jon Favreau is making, because he is basically the main person for Mando. The only real difference between the shows and the movies is the shows aren't trying to be, like, pissing you off all the time with, like, their depiction of characters. And that's the only real difference. The actual writing ability isn't really that much better. The only reason the shows are better is, like, they're not trying to actively tear down Star Wars as their main objective, which is what I'm pretty sure The Last Jedi was. It was basically just Rian Johnson doing whatever he wanted, and he could not care less about anything else. And that's why it ended up being so horrific. And then you have Rise of Skywalker, which is just, like, doomed from the... It's rigged from the start to be a bad movie, and even then, it was really bad from... It was doomed to be bad, and it was still impressively bad when it came out. I was still impressed by how bad it actually ended up being, even though it was doomed to be a very mediocre movie anyway, just because there's nowhere to go from the last movie. AI gave up or something. Still trying to think if there's anything else about Disney-made Star Wars. Oh, they did do more seasons on Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the animated. which seem like it kind of ruined the whole point of the show, which is they're focused. I know one season was focused on the end of the Clone Wars, which kind of goes against the spirit of the show as being just an anthology for the entire time period. It's not supposed to have a through line. But it seems like the last season, like the whole point seems to be was absolutely having a through line to like get Ahsoka to where she needed to be for what the writers wanted to do later and whatnot like that. And as well as like the Clone Wars animated, it seems like it's maybe just kind of okay as a show. I'm not too certain though, just because it's... I don't remember too well like the issues I have with it. I just know that I've heard from like a lot of people I trust that they have a lot of problems with the show. I just can't remember specifically for whatever reason, but I just know when I watched it myself, I kind of got lost interest in it after, I don't know, 2 seasons. So it lasted a good while, but like I was just done because it's like, for whatever reason, just completely lost interest in it. Versus something, you know, a lot better like Arcane, where it's like, oh, I was basically could not wait to watch the next episodes on it. Versus something like Clone Wars, where it's like I have all the episodes I could ever watch, and I just stopped. Halfway, like slightly below halfway through, I've just stopped, even though I have all the episodes I could ever want. Or something like One Punch Man, where it's like, dear God, I'm so desperate to watch more of that, but it just doesn't exist. And it always has really long production cycles on the anime side, which makes no sense as to why it would be so long. Especially with season 2, which is not even like as good quality as the first season for the animation. So I don't know what's taken them so damn long to continue it from season 2. Because at least the season 1 and 2 gap made sense. Because the studios changed, and there was a bunch of other stuff going on. So it makes sense for it to be delayed. But season 2 to like either season 2 part 2, because season 2 ended halfway through like the story, and so I don't know if it's season 2 or if it's season 3 or season 2 part 2. In which case, if it's actually just going to be season 2 part 2, makes it even more mysterious as to why it's taken like 3 years now for another 12 episodes to come out that will also, that basically are already written because they're taking from the anime. So all they have to do is like do the animation, really. That's like the main time sink in it. And I don't know if they did use CGI animation in season 2. I mean, I think every anime should be using CGI animation where it makes sense. Although I do like every frame being hand-drawn, but I think realistically it's like you should probably be using CGI where it makes sense too. But have probably most of the anime be, you know, completely 2D made. It's kind of like when CGI started being a thing in movies, where it's like, oh, it's a tool you use every now and then, not something you're meant to use all the time or never. Like, that's not how tools work. It's like having an adjustable wrench and having every wrench be in a preset size. Yeah, the adjustable wrench is really nice, and it's very helpful, but still having a bunch of wrenches that are one size only, they're a hell of a lot better to fucking use when you know you're going to be using that one size of wrench a lot. Having the fixed size is really nice too. It's a lot easier to like get freaking bolts in and shit when you don't need to worry about dialing in the size every single time. As well as even when you dial in the size on an adjustable wrench, like a freaking fixed wrench just has like that perfect fits like a glove every single time, regardless. But an adjustable wrench is the main reason you'd use an adjustable wrench is when you know there's gonna be like, you're gonna be going constantly between different bolt sizes and you just can't be bothered to get out the 10 wrenches you need. But even then, I think most people wrench in bolts whenever they need to like assemble something that has bolts on it. Have no issues of getting the actual, all the separate wrenches they need. I'm gonna go repair the shippo now, rather than later, so they don't die to random AI, which would be nice. I mean, if I do die to AI, it's not a big deal, but like, I'd rather not. I've been more on Star Wars. I know with Rebels, it's like, it's the same as Clone Wars, except generally just worse. So, don't need to worry about that. Because while with Clone Wars, I can't like pin the issues I have. I can just only cite other people who don't like it, and then they would actually be able to explain. But actually, Rebels, it's like, oh yeah, it's a little more obvious as to why it's annoying, because like a lot of the characters in it are just like insufferable, and that really takes the show with it in a massive way. Even though the writing quality, I think, is actually pretty similar. Because I think Clone Wars does, yeah, Clone Wars definitely does it a lot, where it's like, if something needs to happen in the show, like for the plot, it will just happen, and then everything else will just be damned. Like, the consequences will be damned. If an episode needs to have an event happen in it, that event is happening whether it makes sense or doesn't. I mean, Rebels definitely does the same thing. Just with the added benefit of having characters that people don't like, because they're just mainly annoying and they don't have a lot of positive traits. It's like they're kind of just annoying. That's like their whole character. Or some of them are just like not even good people, and they're on the good guy's side, and you're just like, wow, you're a real POS. I don't even understand why you're even on the good guy team. So I think what I'm gonna do is, after I get to 50 points again, that's when I'm probably gonna switch to doing a little bit of racing. Oh, and I want to do 2 heat sinks in the racing, because I think Scram said that if you do triple weps, you can put 2 heat sinks on, and that does work. So I'm gonna just see if he's right about that, and see if it's still like, if the laps are still like valid for the record, because that'd be nice, because otherwise I'm wasting the other passive slot all the time with just having a gun on, which is like, yeah, we're never gonna use that in a race when we're doing lap time O's. And so that would mean I could probably get a 209 on my lap time. Just because, like, I'm sure that would save a second off my current time. I don't think it's gonna shave off the 4 I would need to have the record, but it would definitely shave off 1 second. It will definitely do that. That's guaranteed. Oh yeah, that is what I'd want. I would actually. So the thing is, like, what was the combination of power burn and mechanics that I would be the most happy with? It's like, oh, I would love it if power burn was gone. The forward boosting was buffed a little bit to help compensate, and then you kept in the damage slowdown. That was like the optimal combination I wanted. Yeah. Because like, power burn's cursed. I think it still happens where it's like, you fight a lot of people, get them in a good position, and then they power burn into the sunset, but yeah. Although the main issue is if they're using an energy weapon, they can power burn to the cows come home, and it doesn't affect how much they can shoot you with the energy weapon, and then it's only really a issue of connect weapons. But even though I feel like a lot of people who will use like a Vulcan or something, I feel like they will still like use boosting and power burning a lot, and yet it does not feel like it's limiting their damage output in any way. Which is why I get like very easily overwhelmed by a lot of Vulcan pilots, because it's like, it's just a constant stream of projectiles that never ever stops. It's like you can shoot it for so long. It's like, I shouldn't need repair unless there's another missile ship, just because I won't dodge the missiles very well. So I'm not very good at dodging missiles. It's not like Battlescape where I can dodge missiles way better in that game, just because I have a good impression of where missiles are, because, well, I have the better radar. An actual nice 3D radar that I can read without getting a brain aneurysm in the process of attempting to read it, unlike the freaking stupid 2D radar, where I get confused every time I look at it. It's like, no, it needs to be a 2D radar because the tech level and it's not good enough to afford a 3D radar. No one knows how those work. It's magic. It's also probably the best thing about Elite Dangerous is having the 3D radar. I do think that's true. This is what someone says. Like, that was actually something that was programmed the last minute in the original first Elite game. It's like, well, holy crap, because that's like one of the best things about Elite is just like it popularizing a 3D radar. I don't think it was the first one to make it. I just know it definitely. It's very possible it was the first game to have a 3D radar for OG Elite before. That was on like whatever terrible PC existed at the time. Oh no, not more missiles. Do we want to repair? Nah, we can get the 50 and probably not die. Void bombers, though, they're usually the ones that will have missiles on. I don't want to deal with their missile. Actually, that's a weird advantage Battlescape has over HunterNet. The hitboxes in Battlescape are more precise. Because in this game they're just spears. But in Battlescape, I think they're like very close to the actual mesh of the craft. Which is really funny because it's completely undermined by the fact the game is perpetually laggy. Forever. And there's like doesn't seem to be any way you can ever get the game to be close to having one-to-one representation for positioning. And like I say, it's not even close because like the error on it's like really high because you're off by like up to 100 meters, possibly like a lot more. Because I'm just saying 100 meters because that's what I think it was from my perspective. It's very possible it was a larger distance than 100 meters. It could have been like 200 or 300 meters easily. To me, just visually, I would just guess 100 meters. Was like the positional error I was experiencing. Because in Drone, because Drone's a game where it had the same issue, but the funny thing in Drone is the error would only be about 2 meters. Possibly even less than that. Like the error would be like would be like 1 meter only. And that's a game that's entirely peer-to-peer. There's no servers at all involved. And the only benefit Drone has is like the smaller player sizes. Which wouldn't affect the code that much because it's peer-to-peer. The only thing that would affect the position error is the ping of the worst person in the game. Because it's peer-to-peer. Well, it's a peer-to-peer server because it picks one person to be the host. So it's based off the host ping, essentially. And that's what affects it. But it's like, even then, in Drone, like, 100 ping in Drone is, like, superior to 40 ping in Battlescape. And then in PlanetSide, it's like, well, frickin' PlanetSide doesn't even have a positional error issue at all, as far as I know. PlanetSide 2's issues are the just lag, in that everything gets delayed, usually on your side, and then people end up being ahead of you in the lag, and that basically makes infantry combat unplayable. If you want like 100% fair infantry combat, so you want it to be like CS:GO level, you want it to be where it's very, very competitive infantry gameplay. It's like PlanetSide 2. It's like I'm convinced that it's complete BS. Even if you ignore like any of the fact that you can just like buy better weapons and have weapons that will comfortably give you 5 headshots on the hip fire at close range, but the starting gun can like maybe body shot someone full automatic at the same range, but you can get a gun where it's like, oh, this thing will comfortably headshot with the hip fire, and you'll get like lightning fast TDKs consistently. You don't need to ADS. All you need to do is line up their head with the hip fire and you'll kill them. Like, there's a few guns that I see some of the better players using where it's like, either you're either really ahead in the server, or you don't need to ADS your gun to be able to headshot me this much from this distance, because you're like 20 meters away and reliably headshotting me with a fully automatic gun. So either your fully automatic gun is really freaking accurate on its hip fire, or you're ahead in the server, and that's like the only two things, because like this does not feel fair at all. I feel like you definitely have an advantage. It's like, why is your weapon able to like have such a good level of accuracy to it? To where all you need to do is line up and hold down your left mouse, and that's the extent of your gameplay. You just get really, really good at lining someone's head up and then holding down your left mouse. And the gun will do the rest for you just because it's such a good performance gun. And it's like, it might have a lot of vertical recoil, but it's like, still. It's like, I don't know if it has a lot of vertical recoil. I have to frickin' test out that one gun. I have to remember what that gun is and then test it myself in the training. If it's even a gun you can test out, if it's a standard gun, because it might be a special gun that you need to get via BS, which means I can't even test it. Which would mean the next best thing would be looking it up on the wiki. So at the very least, that gun has fantastic horizontal recoil because he never misses the head. When he aims at your head, he never misses. So I know the horizontal recoil has to be really good. The only recoil that could be penalizing you is the vertical one, which I would also find unlikely. Just because even if you're good at controlling vertical recoil, if you're trying to get headshots, the likelihood that you're going to shoot over their head is pretty fucking good. Even if you're decent at controlling the recoil, just the fact that like the odds that shots will just go over the head are just really good. Because he's not getting any body shots either, because PlanetSide 2 is a nice feature where when someone gets a headshot on you, it has a unique sound effect. And every single time that person would shoot at me, I would hear 5 headshot sound effects, and that means I'm dead, because that's like how many headshots you can take from an average fully automatic firearm in PlanetSide 2. It's like approximately 5. So anytime you'd ever meet me, I'd get 5 headshots dead. And it's like almost without fail, like the 5 times I would meet up with that person, and I'm like thinking that's like, I'm thinking his gun's a lot better than mine. Or he's ahead of the server, so he has so much time in advance to shoot at me compared to me shooting at him. Because I would also, because I was using a DMR at the time, I could get like 1 headshot on him of the 2 that I would need to kill him. And the time that he would get 5 headshots on me, I could get 1 back. And then maybe a body shot. And then one time, I did actually win a fight against him. And it felt insanely fucking hard, and I felt like I got lucky, essentially. Didn't feel like I did it with my own skill. So, yeah, that's a thing where I don't know what's going on there. But the whole point, it's like, main issue of PlanetSide 2 is it feels like there is a perpetual delay on everything. Regardless of how, well, not regardless of how good your ping, because having a lower ping does help. But the problem is the server feels like it's lagged, because the servers feel like they have so much work to do that it just puts a delay in everything regardless, because the server takes literally 40 milliseconds to finish its calculations. So that's causing a delay in everything. But the positional accuracy, however, in PlanetSide 2 does feel very good. It doesn't feel like people are in places they shouldn't, like, especially on infantry. Infantry, there never feels like there's a issue at all. Like, infantry are always where you would expect them to be. On your perspective, at least. And the same goes for vehicles as well. Is like, it doesn't feel like you can be behind somebody and on their screen you can still be in front of them. It's like, no, there's no issue at all in that respect. Feels like it's working flawlessly for positional accuracy. And then with aircraft as well, doesn't feel like a issue either. The only issue I've ever had in aircraft is projectiles coming in. Is like, you cannot trust the position of projectiles coming in on your screen, and that if you dodge them that you will evade them. Is like, no, you cannot trust that. It's not precise enough for that. It's like, it's pretty decent hitbox accuracy, but it is not accurate enough to where you can reliably dodge a projectile and like feel like it missed you by a pixel. It's like, nah, you can dodge something in PlanetSide 2 where you feel like there's a good meter or 2 between that shell and you, and it will still hit you. Probably because on the enemy guy's perspective, you didn't move on his screen because of the lag. So it's like you would have to dodge that projectile like really early on to have a chance of dodging it precisely. And even then, I'm still not confident that you would even dodge it precisely. But it's good enough to not have people be freaking behind you, and on their screen they're still in front of you. It's not that bad. It's only bad enough to where you don't feel like projectiles are the most accurate in aircraft specifically, but with tanks on tanks and infantry on infantry, there's never an issue. It's only in aircraft sometimes that it feels like there's an issue. But tanks, you don't feel like there's a problem. It probably is a subtle inaccuracy, even on tanks. Because they definitely go fast enough for there to be an inaccuracy. And I know haraskers definitely, the light Jeeps definitely go fast enough for there to be an issue. Probably with the hit detection as well, but you don't really feel like it's getting in the way of the gameplay. You're just like, it's an acceptable level of inaccuracy where it doesn't feel like it's meaningfully changing the gameplay. But yeah, but that's why I don't understand, because like PlanetSide 2 has way more players than Battlescape does. Like a massive amount more players, like literally up to 1,000 on one map. And you could say that the fidelity is lower is like, well, I mean, kinda, because PlanetSide 2 renders every single like bullet as a projectile. It's like every bullet, even if it's from like a shotgun, has projectile-based like physics to it. They're all rendered as projectiles. There's no hit scan. I don't think a single thing in PlanetSide 2's hit scan other than like a handful of very specific guns. Oh, I pressed my thing by accident. There's like some very specific guns that are hit scan, and then nothing else is. So that's like some of the guns that like charge up and shoot a laser. It's like that's like the only thing that's hit scan. And even then it might not actually be hit scan. With a few of them. It's like, I know one of those guns is hit scan, but anything that shoots a bullet is not hit scan. I can assure you. It's only the guns that are like, oh, this is a particle accelerator. It's like, that's the only thing that might be hit scan, and I'm still not 100% confident in saying it's hit scan. I think it still might be firing a projectile. Alright, I'm gonna switch to the racing, though, now. And so you have, like, a game where you have 1,000 people, and all of them are using a projectile-based gun. So really, the only excuse, you know, Battlescape has is the movement speed on the craft, which would be, you know, how fast the actual like things move in Battlescape. But even then, PlanetSide 2 is still superior because I was having issues in Battlescape on a specific movement speed, so like under 500 meters, and the fastest you can go in PlanetSide 2 is up to 300 meters. And even then, in PlanetSide 2, I have no issues with positional error, even when you're going 300 meters, whereas in Battlescape, I was having extremely noticeable issues at 500 meters. Oh, with lower ping than I would in frickin' PlanetSide 2 as well to boot, so... It's like, yeah, that's why I'm really confused as to why there's such an issue in Battlescape right now. With just positional accuracy, because like PlanetSide 2 has more accurate positioning, and it's a little bit less like intense to render, but not that much. Like it's better, but it's not that much better. Because like yeah, it's a little bit cheaper to render, but it also needs to render for like 1,000 players on a map. And it is using it's using a lot of servers to do it. Like, it's like, because the way PlanetSide 2 works is servers get assigned to a map tile based on how many players are there. And more servers will keep getting assigned there. Or just, like, one server will get more allocation there. Whereas I think, like, Battlescape is, I think it's using only one server. But it's like, well, there we go, that's the problem. Maybe you it's like... It gets the advantage of having it coded where it can use more than one server, so it's like, well, there you go, that's the problem. I think using more than one server is probably the way to go. Oh, I just noticed that it didn't put on 2 heat sinks. Even though I have Trigun on. Very interesting. So does it not work then? Mordecai. Yeah. I might fiddle with the... What if I put on like a damp or something? And then I put on a Hisk. Yeah, it seems like it's hard-coded. If you could put it on before, you cannot now. Put on rockets or something stupid. Does that mean I could do 2 boosts? No, it's hard coded. Yeah. Yeah. So turning on tri-guns does not matter. So if it was possible at some point, it definitely is not anymore to do that. So yeah. So that means that I'm never gonna beat my record in a million years. That ain't happening. It's like the only way I figured I would shave off a little bit of time is to have more allowance for power burning. Because otherwise it's like, well, I'm just doing something very inefficiently with the pathing. Yeah, that wasn't actually good enough to do that corner. Respond me. Oh, actually I just want to restart the lap. I'm only probably gonna race for a very short period of time then. Because I was hoping that you could try gun to heatsink. Because I thought I heard someone say that you could do it. Like Scram severely. I thought he said that you can do that. I either misheard him or it did get patched out at some point. It's like, oh. I'm not very competitive getting the lap time. Like, it's not something I care a lot about. As you can tell from the fact that I spend like maybe like 30 minutes racing a week compared to playing the normal game much longer than that period of time. Oh yeah, I knew that would ruin it because it's like that power burn wasn't a perfect 180. I knew that would like reset the thing. All right, I was gonna say I'm not sure I want to keep doing this lap. Okay, now I don't have any reason to continue that lap whatsoever. I know what Lamaro said was, he said that when he watched Scram's lap that he power burns at more intense angles, but the main issue, it's like that should slow you down. Because the whole point is to like get more speed, so if Scrams is power burning like 90 degrees where he's going more, that should be hindering him, if anything, when he's doing that. So that would mean that, like, in my opinion, that would mean that Scrams has a very unoptimized lap, surprisingly, so he should be able to get like a 205 lap though. Because like his power burning 90 degrees should, like, that should not be helping you. Oh. So that means that he would have like room to improve, or it's like I don't think I have room to improve. I think I've done the best I can do, just because I'm not very good at racing mentality. I don't think improvement's gonna be happening. Yeah, we lost all the speed. Like, that's what sucks, though. It's like I don't know how to consistently keep my speed up. Really. Like, I'll keep losing it. Which is like the main issue, because it's like I don't think Scrams probably has that problem. I think he's going really fast all the time, and he's not like coming out a corner wondering why he lost 40 meters a second. I think that's the reason why I'm probably not beating the lap, probably ever. Oh, especially if I end up not. I think I was ghosting the left key when I didn't want to or something. Yeah, especially if I end up pressing a key by accident halfway through the lap. Doesn't look good. Oh, and also, going too much in the beginning. Oh, see, I lost 40 meters a second there, and it's like, yeah, that's a good example of where I lost a ton of speed there. So here, we kept the speed. It's like, I'm not sure what entirely I'm doing differently. That's what my problem is. It's like I don't actually know what I'm doing right now. Oh, a little bump. It's fine. We can scrape those tunnels. Yeah, I was in a bad vector. That's gonna slow me down a lot. Oh, I hit that. Oh, I didn't think I would hit it. But yeah, I'll continue to let though. I would have had so much extra speed if I did it. So yeah. So this means I can maybe do this. Oh, well, not quite, because that's in the way. It's like, I can almost get through the corner. There might be a position you want to take there that helps that, though. Like going really, really low. Oh, I missed this. I was very close to getting through it. I'm trying to do it quicker like. No. I tried to subtly move out of the way and it was nowhere even close. Yeah. Slow lap, woo, because there was like 20,000 things that went wrong. Alright. So many things that went wrong that lap. I don't know, I want to have like one clean lap. Ideally. So either until I get done with racing or get like a clean lap in and then I'll end the stream there. Oh, that was a much bigger bump. That took more effort to correct that. Oh, I don't know what happened. I ended up going in such a strange direction that I was not expecting. Oh, I am bumping that, but it was in a way that didn't actually interfere that much. Alright, good. We didn't cut into that time. So now we get a little bit extra speed for this part. Oh, no! I hit something behind. Oh, why am I rotated so bad? Okay, not so bad. But that's the part where I never understand how I always... It's not that I hit the thing behind me, it's like, why is it always such an intense collision when I do hit it? Oh, I got bounced down. That's what I never understand. Oh no. It's like I could see that coming from a mile away. Alright. Yeah, so it's like, even then, it's like, if I didn't collide, like, I would still have, like, it'd be like a 2:15 lap if I didn't mess anything up. So it's like, yeah, I'm just very... I just have no idea how to go faster from, like, my own perspective. So yeah, it's like, I just don't know how I would do it faster. It's like, I don't... It's like, even if I, like, did everything perfectly, it's like, well... I just don't see going faster, so... I just don't see where the time shaving is gonna come from. be like, feels like I'm missing a shortcut or something. To me, it's like, the only thing I can think, it's like keeping up the high speed more consistently. That's like the only thing I can really think of. Oh, I still hit the rim. Oh, that was bad. I was trying to not hit it and I still hit it. So I didn't bump into it, but I still, like, I don't have any extra speed for doing that corner. Oh, I clipped the bottle. It got bounced out really far. Yeah, I'd say that's decent enough. So yeah, that would have been like maybe a 2:10 lap. So like, yeah, like the exact same time I would do for my record if I executed that perfectly. So it's like, yeah, I'm like soft locked. I'm soft locked to like 2:10. I have no idea how to improve on it in any way. So yeah, it's like a 2 sometimes. Like I just don't know how I could ever do that because I'm soft locked where I'm at. All right, but that'll be the end of my Strom for today because I didn't do one yesterday because it was too busy in the house to do one. I would have been getting in the way of like 5 people. So have a go.